Gasps in the courtroom. Gasps as a federal judge raised serious questions about Trump loyalist Lindsay Halligan. Today's hearing lasted more than an hour, and a ruling from the judge could come at any time. A ruling that may conclude that Lindsay Halligan, who has never tried a case in her career, is not qualified to serve in her job and is legally not able to be in her job. And that means cases against James Comey and Letitia James could be over. Out front now, former Trump White House lawyer Ty Cobb. So, Ty, this was an important day. The hearing just over an hour about Lindsay Halligan and whether she's allowed to be in her job. Will Halligan be disqualified and her indictments tossed out?
She will be disqualified. The Comey indictment will be tossed out. And may not be able to be rebrought because the statute of limitations has lapsed. The James indictment is likely to be tossed out as well, but it can be rebrought, as Abbe Lowell conceded today that in her situation that somebody may reactivate that case.
So, I mean, it is pretty stunning to imagine that we're in this moment, Ty. It really is. At one point in the hearing, the judge was expressing really serious concerns about another aspect of this, which isn't just whether Lindsay Halligan actually was legally in her job when she signed the indictment, and appeared to make the case, but that in front of the grand jury, there was a part of the Comey grand jury arguments and conversation that actually wasn't recorded. You'd always have a court reporter in there. There would be a transcript of everything, and there wasn't. And the part that's missing covered a crucial event, the actual end, the final minutes of the grand jury session on the day the indictment was returned. What could that even be about?
So if it's intentional, it's prosecutorial misconduct of the highest order. Now, it's conceivable there was a technical glitch. It's conceivable there may be a recording. There are a lot of things that we can't rule out at this stage of the game. But the Justice Department's statement later today in response to this issue highlighted the fact that this was during the deliberations, which are not recorded typically. So this was during the deliberation period. But that ignores the fact that this was not an easy deliberation. They threw out the first count of the Comey indictment. So, and that would have been the most complicated discussion between the prosecutor and the grand jury. And for an inexperienced prosecutor to navigate those circumstances, which are extremely rare, is virtually impossible.
And of course, that was the situation, right? As I said, has never tried a case before. Yeah. So you think that they're going to say she is not legally in her position, and that these, for sure, the Comey and possibly the James as well could be tossed. I want to ask you about one other really important thing here, Ty, which is the Deputy Attorney Todd Blanche, and very much in the center of everything today with these big developments on the Epstein files. He is trying to fight back against serious criticism about his conversation with Ghislaine Maxwell. That's the conversation that he had back in July, right, when she was in a much more serious facility in Florida. Right after that conversation is when she gets moved to this cushy facility in Texas. So at the time, Blanche tapes the whole conversation. She tells him, quote, "I don't recall ever seeing Trump in Epstein's house." That's what she says to him in July. They put this out, right? The White House wanted everyone to hear this. In the new emails that we've just gotten, Epstein writes to Maxwell about Trump, quote, "One of the victims spent hours at my house with him." Maxwell responds, "I've been thinking about that." I mean, Ty, there's many things in here to question, but that one just punches you in the face. Direct conflict to her statement to Blanche. He did not follow up with her. And he says today that that's because law enforcement didn't have the materials that Epstein's estate hid for years, he said, and only just provided to Congress. Excuse that up, Ty?
So, no, it doesn't add up at all. And keep in mind that in 2017 and again in 2019, there were multiple searches of all of Epstein's computers, phones, electronic record keeping, and databases. I find it hard to imagine that these documents weren't on those databases, because otherwise, why would the estate have them? So I think Blanche, in trying to defend himself from what was an obvious exercise to create a script, she created a script with Blanche to try to exonerate Trump in exchange for getting moved a week later to low security prison, which she's not qualified for under the guidelines. And I mean, my God, he even gave her a puppy. So the theory that this wasn't all a setup and designed purely to get a exonerating statement from her that obviously bears no relationship to the truth based on the documents that were released yesterday. That it was only that and not a serious interrogation. And you can tell from the transcript, it was not an interrogation. No self-respecting former prosecutor of Blanche's quality could have conducted that interrogation in such a benign way.
In a critical hearing today, a judge expressed some pretty vocal skepticism about whether the federal prosecutor leading the case has the right to be there. That now interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan was handpicked by President Trump. James Comey and Letitia James are arguing she was illegally appointed. Lawyers for the New York AG even telling the court she was, quote, pretending when the charges were originally brought. The DOJ today said this issue is a, quote, at best, paperwork error. I want to bring in CNN crime and justice correspondent Caitlin Polans. She was inside the courtroom for this hearing. And Caitlin, we have been reporting that at one point there were gasps in the courtroom. Take us inside the room.
Yeah, I was sitting right in the middle of the court. It wasn't like a huge, but there was a moment where the judge, she sort of had a wind up. The arguments had been going on for about an hour, and she said, one final question to the Justice Department attorney. How is this different from the dismissal that Judge Cannon made, the decision she made in dismissing U.S. v. Trump? And everyone kind of went, she went there. That was something that I'm sure the Justice Department attorney was expecting, in that the legal issues, there are similarities. The case against Donald Trump was dismissed by Judge Cannon in Florida, this classified documents case, saying that Jack Smith, special counsel, didn't have the authority. That's a very sharp question to be asked by this judge, and the Justice Department said that's a different case, it's a different jurisdiction, but there is a big matter here that the judge is grappling with. Can Lindsay Halligan be tossed from this case, and does that mean the cases, or one of the cases against James Comey and Letitia James, ends? We don't know what the judge will do. She is going to rule quickly, and in Casey, the other thing is there were a lot of pointed moments where people were responding to what she said in that room when she asked them, have you seen a declination memo? When she mentioned the Trump case, when she got in a back and forth with the Justice Department attorney at one point about how Bondi couldn't have reviewed grand jury records. So there was a lot there to think of, but I'm not exactly sure which way the judge will go.
So is this all or nothing? Like, is Lindsay Halligan going to get thrown off both of these cases, or could it be one but not the other?
Well, there's a bunch of different ways that this could spell out. And that was something that the judge was asking both James Comey's attorney and Letitia James' attorney. How do you break this down? There's a possibility that she could say, okay, Lindsay Halligan is tossed off the case. Does that mean the cases could never be brought again? James Comey says, yes, if Lindsay Halligan is tossed off the case, it's null and void and it can't come back because we're well past 5 years where that case could be charged. Letitia James may be in a bit of a different situation, although her attorney also argued can't come back either if Lindsay Halligan did this. Lindsay Halligan was the only person in the grand jury room. But there is the possibility that the judge even steps in further and says Lindsay Halligan needs to exit forever. These cases don't come back. It's a lot of possibilities, and that's, I think, where the gray area is, determining where the judge might land. She expressed clear skepticism of these prosecutions so far.
Jonah Goldberg, big picture. What does this question about Lindsay Halligan's fitness to do this, how do you see it in terms of how it fits in the way that the president is continuing to break norms and sort of constitutional boundaries?
Yeah, I mean, I see it. Look, I mean, there's a reason why the case is the kind of hot mess that it is because they did it at the last minute because the statute of limitations, at least on the Comey stuff, was running out. They couldn't get actual career attorneys or even the original appointed U.S. attorney to do it because it wasn't a sufficiently strong case. And to me, what it does is it bolsters the claim that Trump is weaponizing the Department of Justice to go after his political opponents.
Adrian, how do you look at this, and is there a difference in your mind between the James case and the Comey case or not?
I think there's a little bit of a difference in the nuance that you were talking about in terms of the mortgage and the different issues. And look, I'll be the first to tell you again, I'm not the biggest James Comey fan. I know that's not going to surprise you.
Many Democrats are not, especially if they worked for Hillary Clinton. Okay.
But it doesn't change the fact that Trump did say on the campaign trail in 2024, I'm going to go after my political enemies, and he's doing it. And he's doing it in a very aggressive way. We'll see what the judge comes up with. But, he's fulfilling his promise in the sense that he is not focusing on the issues that the American people are facing, like affordability, but he is going after his political enemies.
Do you think the Trump administration did this the right way, Brad?
Well, I think they did it quickly, and a lot of things you do quickly maybe could have been done better if you were measured twice and cut once, is the old expression. I'm not sure that
I always kick myself when I don't measure twice before I cut anything. I agree with that.
I think it's possible, but Letitia James' case is a legitimate case, and it's probably coming back, as Caitlin mentioned. Like, I don't think anybody thinks this one's going away, no matter what happens with this motion today. The Comey case may be a little bit different, and it's possible also that putting James Comey through the process here is punishment of James Comey enough. He may have achieved his objective of punishing his enemy by doing that.